What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV. In today's video, you will be treated to witnessing my death as I attempt to solo complete a public event with what is possibly the worst exotic, or rather, exotic setup here in Destiny 2. Yes, it's time for another exotic weapon review. In today's video, Sturm and Drang. Now you'll notice how I've mentioned two weapons here and not just Sturm. That is because these weapons go hand in hand. There's no using one without the other. Well, technically you can use one without the other, especially Drang. Drang is definitely like its own thing altogether, but when you're using Sturm, you definitely want to have Drang around because that's how you'll get the full effect with this exotic and legendary combo. This is one of a few special combos, a few special exotics that you have to unlock through doing missions. You can't find this exotic in an exotic engram. You can't just find it anywhere. You probably can't even buy it from Xur. You have to complete the mission to unlock this one. And that mission is lengthy. It will take a lot of time. It will be pretty stressful. There's a lot that goes into it. You have to find exotic engrams and decode them, and legendary engrams and decode them. And you have to do a bunch of missions. You have to use Drang and get a bunch of kills. But basically, when you complete the full campaign, you'll be treated to a few different little mini campaign missions on each of the planets. Every single planet has a mini campaign. It looks similar, the icon is similar to the main campaign, except now it's blue, whereas the main campaign is red on your map. You can go to these different planets. I believe it's Nessus for Sturm and Drang, and you can start that quest. You'll go through the full quest line, and then you'll get Drang at the very end, which is the secondary or legendary sidearm, which is one of the coolest looking weapons in Destiny so far. It's like a P08, like a Luger from World War II, but it's like all gold, like totally golden eye. It's really, really cool looking. It's not that effective. I believe its base damage is solar. It's not that great in any sense of the word. It's a sidearm to begin with, and sidearms just aren't that great in Destiny. But even as a sidearm, it's not very effective. It does have a very cool iron sight. Well, quote-unquote iron sight. It does have a projection. But you use Drang for a little while, you'll get this message you have to bring to the Cryptarch, and then you got to bring it to the other Cryptarch, and you got to do a bunch of stuff. After all of this time, you'll finally unlock Sturm. Sturm is a hand cannon, a primary exotic hand cannon, and it is the biggest letdown in the world. As I've said, it's a long process to unlock this one, and it just really isn't that great. It fires extremely slowly. There is a very, very hard kick. There isn't really a huge ability with this weapon, whereas some exotics, you just use them, and they have something very, very special about them that's very apparent right away. Sturm is not the same way. Sturm, you have to use Drang with to get the full effect, as I've said, which I'll explain in a moment. But the weapon has a very high impact. It does do quite a bit of damage, but in Crucible modes, you're going to want to put this one away. It fires extremely slowly. There's no DPS on this whatsoever. You have to be very accurate to even get kills in Crucible. And because it has so much recoil, it's very hard to be accurate, especially when enemies are moving around so quickly. So it's very difficult to use, and as a slower firing, not very, I don't know, it's just not a very great weapon, so it's not great for taking out bosses, and that also ties into how you're supposed to use Sturm and Drang together. So I better explain that before I go any further. So Drang, when you're using Drang, it will give you this trait, which is called Together Forever. So when you're using Drang, every time you get a kill with Drang and you have Sturm equipped, it will automatically fill Sturm's magazine. So Sturm's magazine it's a 12-round magazine, and here's a little side note, a little tip for you. You'll actually get one extra bullet if you kill two enemies with Drang. So you kill an enemy with Drang, it will fill up any ammo that you need. In Sturm, it will come from your reserves. It's not free ammo, it's coming from your reserves, so you're still losing ammunition. But Drang will fill up Sturm, and then if you get one more kill when Sturm is full, it will give you one extra bullet, so there's that. So you'll be up to 13 instead of 12. But then when it comes to Sturm, you have two different traits that kind of play off each other and then work again with Drang. So you have Accomplice, which is the intrinsic trait, which will give you kills with this weapon, fill the magazine of the equipped energy weapon from reserves. So now when you're getting kills with Sturm, it's going to be filling the magazine on Drang from reserves. So they're both filling each other's magazines as you're getting kills, but the very special one from Sturm is actually the other trait, which is called Storm and Stress. Kills with energy weapons grant bonus precision damage until the next reload. So that means, it's very wordy, it's very complicated, and it took me a minute to figure it out. That means when you're using your energy weapon, regardless of what energy weapon that is, preferably Drang, when you get kills with that energy weapon, it's going to increase the precision damage that you do with Sturm. So Sturm's damage, precision damage, is going to go up. So if you're getting headshots, if you're getting critical hits, it's going to do more damage. And from a very, very brief calculation, I've come to the point that I believe that increase in precision damage is around 30% extra damage, though I could be wrong. It was a very quick calculation that I did based on some numbers that I saw popping up during the game. So 30% increase to your precision damage with Sturm until the next reload. Well, here's the trick around that. As long as you are switching back to Drang and getting one more kill before you end up reloading, it will automatically reload Sturm, and then Sturm doesn't need to be reloaded, and it still has that bonus precision damage. So you need to use these two weapons together and just consistently swap, 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 get a kill, swap, get a kill, swap, or you can get a couple kills with Sturm, swap back to Drang before you're out of ammo, use Drang to get a kill, and again, you won't have to reload Drang because Sturm is reloading Drang. It's just you have to use these weapons together at all times, and neither one of them is very effective, especially in Crucible. I cannot stress that enough. You will have a miserable time trying to use these weapons in Crucible, and even in bigger boss fights where there's not as many mini enemies to attack, they won't do as well because you need to keep swapping the weapons and killing enemies. That's the key fact here. You need to kill enemies, not just damage enemies, to get the effect. So if you're playing in a Nightfall in a raid where enemies are harder to kill, it's not going to be as effective. And if you're playing as in a boss fight where you have to kill one singular enemy, it's going to be very hard to use this weapon. Overall, I think this is one of the worst exotics in the game. It's just weird. You have to use both together, and it's just, you don't want to do that. You don't want to limit yourself to a specific setup. But that is it for today's exotic weapon review. Sturm, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would not advise you go for this one right away when you come out of the gate. But that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.